This is a bit of a rant on the left and animal rights. Non-vegan leftists are engaging in moral hypocrisy, and this movement is being watered down by intersectional apologist vegans, who are mostly human supremacists. I'm not saying every person who calls themselves an intersectional vegan is an apologist, but they mostly are. And it is a statistical fact that non-human animals are the most oppressed beings on the planet. More animals are tortured and killed per year than all humans that have ever existed. I think a lot of people don't genuinely understand that animals are actually genuinely sentient. As in, they truly are individual beings with brains that experience pain and suffering. If you don't care about the numbers, about the statistics, about the fact that more sentient non-humans are killed per year than all humans that have ever existed, that is a failure to care about the individuals, and a failure to care about the vast majority of suffering on Earth. What is it about animals that make them not morally significant enough to grant them the most basic rights, not being raped, tortured, enslaved, and killed? And I will defend later the use of those words. Name the trait and compare that trait in a human context to see if it holds up. Is it that animals are less intelligent? There are humans that are less intelligent than many animals, like toddlers or some severely mentally disabled people. A pig is more intelligent than a 3-year-old child. Would you be okay with killing toddlers or certain mentally disabled people? Would you accept many excuses for this behavior? You find that comparison offensive? Why? Being offended by this comparison is circular logic. The vegan says name the trait that makes animals not morally significant enough for you. Then they say intelligence. Then you say, okay, but there are humans that are less intelligent than many animals. And then they say that is offensive to humans. What is really the difference? If we're comparing the same trait that you say exists in animals, that makes it okay to kill them, but wouldn't make it okay in humans that have the same trait. Nothing more than tribalism. It's completely irrational. It is not the epitome of empathy and progression to care about less than 1% of sentient life on the planet, as in genuinely care about the rights of. So non-vegan leftists, while you're deeply offended by somebody using a word you don't like, could you consider not paying to rape, confine, enslave, and kill animals? Leftists, while you're protesting a killing, could you not kill an innocent victim and use their head as a fucking prop? These images are hypocrisy defined so concisely. I suggest replacing the dictionary definition of hypocrisy with one of these pictures. Leftists, while you're worried about men who spread their legs too wide on the bus or train, can you consider not paying to have the throats of innocent victims slashed open for you? And I want to address the censoring of accurate words to describe what happens to the animals by apologists and non-vegans, like the recent controversy with James Aspey using the word Holocaust. The intersectional apologists have always been on this bullshit, though, so it's not really new. But it's interesting, because it's pretty common and unquestioned to say slaves were treated like animals, or Holocaust victims were treated like animals. But you say animals are treated like slaves, it's an animal holocaust, and people lose their mind. It doesn't trivialize Holocaust victims' suffering. Playing euphemism games does trivialize the animal's suffering, though, refusing to actually recognize a victim as a victim. That is trivializing. A Holocaust is a mass slaughter. No one owns the word. There's the Armenian Holocaust. There was the mass starvation of Ukrainians. That could be considered a Holocaust. And the animal Holocaust. Don't call it slavery. Call it confinement. Don't call it rape. That's triggering to rape victims. Call it artificial insemination. First of all, I've been raped, and I find it far more offensive to see sexual violations being excused under some guise of human rights. And it's illogical and inconsistent. The excuse used that animals can't be raped is that they don't really understand what's going on, that they don't have a notion of consent. Well, human babies don't understand what's happening to them when they're raped. They have no notion of consent or sex at all. And most people see that as making it worse, not better or excusable. Their lack of understanding is why it is more sick. George Martin from Carnism Debunked made a good video on that, so I'll link that below for more detail, debunking this disgusting argument that animals can't be raped. But if you're still so die-hard insistent on not using the word rape for animals, why don't we at the very least settle on the word bestiality? Is bestiality so much better? I said this once to an apologist vegan who was teaching a workshop on how to do vegan activism. They said not to call artificial insemination rape. I said at the very least, can we say bestiality? They said no, because they don't think the farmers have sexual intent. Excuse me, what? If someone forcibly impregnates a woman, but didn't do it with sexual intent, is that not rape now? Also, the industry itself created the term rape rack, the place where they do what you want to relabel as artificial insemination. Stop reaching. It disgusts me when I see non-vegan leftists and apologist intersectional vegans saying we shouldn't call it rape because it's triggering to rape victims. That is putting offense over millions of sentient beings being physically, sexually abused. Can we settle on that for a moment? Rape victims using their rape to push down millions of rape victims and minimize it? Humans are not the only rape victims. And if you're sick of victim blaming, like I am, you should not be saying that rape sometimes is justified and shouldn't even be called rape. This kind of stuff is why I refuse to call myself an intersectional vegan, despite being a leftist, on the left, liberal, whatever you want to say, because the vast majority of the time, that just means shit all over the billions and billions of animals having their throats slashed open or being gassed to death under some guise of human rights. Animals are always last to a lot of these intersectionals, and they will lap up every bullshit, refutable, human supremacist excuse. If your excuse wouldn't hold up to justify killing and eating a dog, or your favorite animal, or even a person with the characteristic in animals that you think makes it okay to kill animals, and killing them personally yourself, it is bullshit and speciesist. Extraordinary violence requires extraordinary justification, and the vast majority of excuses I've come across, which are many, are refutable and or bullshit in the context of mass slaughter, decapitation, beheading, rape, slavery. And you know these people are going to be a lot more likely to betray the animals and be future ex-vegan corpse munchers. I've seen that happen. Oh, Inuits though, so I'm gonna go back to eating dairy because it's kind of uncomfortable and inconvenient in social situations to ask questions about the food. Wah. Me. I'm a feminist, by the way. Also, I'm gonna return to paying for dairy cows to be raped and have their babies stolen and killed. Social justice, though, I care so much. Yeah, maybe you care about the rights of less than 1% of sentient life on the planet. The most violent kind of supremacist in the world is a human supremacist, by simple numbers. This is how many animals have been slaughtered since this video started.